Hello, 80s recent students and teachers.
Hello, Mr. Wapa.
Thank you. Sit down. We're still looking at the strand on living things, substrand ecology, relationship, and interaction. Today's lesson is on the topic creating awareness. In the previous lesson, we have looked at the effects and the uses of biodegradable materials, the non-biodegradable materials, and you have also looked at how their use and the effects it has on the environment, even the food web, and how it can affect both the animals and human beings. It's very important that we let our friends know on some of the effects. So we are going to make an awareness. In this lesson, we will be preparing for this awareness. Receiving teachers, you will have to get your students to do some preparation on how they can, or materials that they can use to make an awareness to other students in the school or elsewhere in the community. So the topic for this lesson is creating awareness. This is the lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, we will actually carry out the awareness. Awareness topic is the effects of excessive use of non-biodegradable materials. An activity topic for today is on making posters and slogans. Now, example of a poster, you can simply make a poster just like this. It will have a picture being drawn, and you will have some information for the picture, which you can bring across to people that you are talking to. So here is an example of a food chain, right? You will see grass being eaten by the insects, insects being eaten by the frog, and frogs being eaten by a bird here. So you can see that. Now, where does non-biodegradable materials come in here? Now, in some gardens, we want to use insecticide. It is a chemical that kills the insects that are not needed. So if we apply this chemical on these plants here, then the insects might take this plant as food. And when it takes it, that chemical within this plant is inside the insect already. And if the frogs eat this, that chemical is being passed on. So we can see that the number of these living things gets lesser and lesser in this pyramid. Right? And eventually, the bird eats the frog. We as humans might be affected when we eat the bird. So waste that do not break down or do so very slowly are said to be non-biodegradable, and many living things will be affected. Now, where is our waste here? Now, we will see that when we apply the insecticide here, if we apply so much and it's all taken in, it's non-biodegradable, that material, and it's been passed on, and eventually when we as living things consume along the line, we will all be affected. So what are some ways that we can reduce that? Maybe we don't have to apply so much insecticides on plants. So this is an example of a simple poster that you can prepare, and you must know what areas you will be talking about so that you pass that information across. Now, discussion points, some of the discussion points you have to take note so that it will help you to prepare good materials. 1, the impact of non-biodegradable materials on the lives of people in the community. So non-biodegradable materials have a an impact on lives of people in the community. Just an example I gave on the poster. You will have to discuss this with your friend. Receiving students and teacher, the model class will be working in pairs. So all these discussions, they will do them with the pairs because they will be presenting making the awareness in pairs to other classes. Discussion point number 2. What are some ways that you and the community can do in order to reduce or stop the overuse of these materials? So these are the 2 main points that you will discuss and have in mind when you are doing your preparations. Other areas for you to consider. This is some of the information that you need to pass on to people who are listening to you, all right? What is non-biodegradable? You will have to know what is non-biodegradable so that when you pass the information to people that you are targeting, then that information on what is biodegradable, they will also know it. Another is the overuse of non-biodegradable materials. What is the result of overuse of non-biodegradable material? What effects does it have? Or the waste, littering. In our previous lesson, we have looked at waste in 3 or 4 categories. What can we do to this waste? Or what does it cause to us as living beings? Uses and effects of non-biodegradable materials. Look at the tire in the picture. It has been useful. But after it is used, it's just been dumped on a beach. What effect does it have? This is a non-biodegradable material. So you'll talk about the uses and effects. So in this, the material you can be allowed to choose a non-biodegradable material and you talk about it. The effects on our environment. Some of these non-biodegradable materials have a lot of effect on our environment. Now, are there ways to reduce or recycle and reuse? If you look at the picture, this group of people are collecting metals. They're collecting metals so they can go and sell them. So there is some way to maybe reuse or recycle this. Also, you have to consider the food web. These materials, non-biodegradable materials, does it affect the food web? In the poster that I have shown you, it's not a food chain, but it is the pyramid, right? It allows, or it shows us the number of living things that have been affected in the pyramid. But this is a food web, and you try to see in which areas does non-biodegradable materials affect the food web. And eventually we as human beings are also affected. So those are some areas that you will have to consider while preparing your posters or whatever the summaries that you are trying to write. You have to consider this and the points that you are trying to bring across to people that you will talk to. Now our activity, it will work in pairs. You will plan out and what you can do to share what you have learned about the effects of excessive use of non-biodegradable materials on food web. When we talk about excessive, it's overuse. There is a limit, but you go over the limit of using this, and it has some effects. So firstly, on the food web. You will draw and write appropriate and suitable messages or phrases related to the awareness topic. So what is our awareness topic? You can tell us, what is the awareness topic? Effects of excessive uses of non-biodegradable materials. So these are the two instructions. First of all, you will work in pairs. So we will start on working in pairs in preparing our materials for awareness. You will have some papers. Receiving teachers, if you can distribute papers if you have them there to your students so they can start working on the materials for their awareness. All your drawings, first of all, you have to draft them out with a pencil. To share. That's okay. You'll share with others. 20 minutes left. You draw and write appropriate and suitable messages or phrases related to the awareness topic. So one of the examples, you can do something like this too, which can be part of your material. This is a fish. And this is what the fish is saying. Help. Can't swim. Can't breathe. Now, why is the fish saying like that? All right, so you can see that this little picture has a lot of information in it. Please keep our oceans, rivers, lakes, and swamps clean. And then you can elaborate on this to pass on information to the people who are watching or listening to you. So you can see all these areas can be covered in here. The areas to consider, we can cover it by just looking. Continue. All right, if you're still confused, let me put it this way. I am just showing you examples on what you can do, telling you some areas that you will have to consider. But you will make a choice on what you have learned and what information you want to bring it across to others from what you learned. So it's you to make your own decision. I want to do this. I think this is important. I want to show to these students or to these people. So you come up with your own plans and what you want to put, a picture or you choose a non-biodegradable material and you talk about it. It's all up to you. That's your decision. You and your friend to come up with what you want to talk about, what information you want to bring across to your other friends. So you will decide on that. Now, if you haven't finished, that's okay. You will plan it properly with your friend, and you have to finish it today. You will take the work home, and you complete it together with your friend. Because in our next lesson, when you come back with those materials. You can prepare as many materials as you can for you to pass the information to your friends, right? So if you are not finished, but as long as you understand what to do, that is okay. We got few minutes before we stop you from doing this activity, so keep working. All right, other class, I think we will stop here. Many of you have been still planning. You haven't actually gone through working on it, but that's okay because you are coming up with some very good plans and you will continue. Receiving students, I hope you also had some good plans, or maybe you have started. If you have started, good on you. For the model class, few have started, many are still planning. So we will allow you to take the work home and complete your materials at home, right? And in our next lesson, we should all come with our materials. So before we end the lesson for today, our summary, there are positive and negative impact of non-biodegradable materials on the lives of living things. So there are positive and negative impact of non-biodegradable materials on us as living things. 3 rules to cope with non-biodegradable materials are reduce, recycle, and reuse of non-biodegradable materials. Our key phrase for today is good community. Our next lesson is still on creating awareness. Lesson number 2, that is where we will actually carry out the awareness. With that, thank you, students and teachers and the class for your participation.